Hey y'all, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, and I'm sitting once again in front of my orchid cabinet. This time I have something really cool in bloom actually to show you, and then I'll go outside to the tent, the grow tents, and show you a couple of amethystoglossas, Cattleya amethystoglossas that are blooming right now. I was hoping to get them outside, but it's just above freezing outside, so I don't really want to bring my orchids outside in these conditions. But we just went through the biggest Arctic blast of the season, and it's kind of wrapping up, but still too cold to get the orchids outside, even if it's for a quick video and maybe photo shoot. But anyway, let me turn this camera around and show you some brilliantly orange flowers here in the orchid cabinet. All right, so I've got Comparettia coccinea, and this comes from South America. It was imported, I don't know, probably a couple months ago. Well, no, it's probably, closer to 6 months ago at the end of October. And this is the first time I've ever seen one of these, actually. So it's really cool. It's these sort of brilliantly neon orange flowers with a really large lip and a cool spur there on the back, as you can see. And I've got this one in the shade to see if you could see the different colors, but I mean, this is a really, really neon orange flower on a really long inflorescence on a fairly short, small plant. So this is a 2-inch pot with, I don't know, probably a 9-inch long inflorescence. And then 4 flowers are at the end. So I'm excited for this plant to get larger and turn into a sort of a big bush and just have a bunch of really brilliantly colored spikes. And let's see if we can zoom in on some of the structure here. I don't know if I'm going to get a good shot of that. But there's a whole bunch of different, there's some calli there, and the lip is large. And of course, this is the first bloom for this plant. So, I'm hoping that next time there'll be more blooms, maybe bigger, and just more inflorescences. But I'm growing this here in the cabinet next to everything else. And, it's in sphagnum, so it stays mostly wet. I think whenever I let it dry out too much, I get these curling leaves on the older leaves. But the newer leaves seem just fine. And then I have it in the corner here, as far away from the light as I can, and next to this Restrepia here. And actually the vendor's name is there, Orchideus amazonica. Oh, you can't see it, can you? And I got both the Restrepia and the Comparettia from them. But a really cool little thing that I hope seems to like my cabinet conditions. As this one grows and puts out more inflorescences, we'll find out, how orchids are. They could find a new home and then eventually die a year later because something was not quite right. I'm hoping that that's not the case here and that everything goes well and this is around for a long time. Really cool little species. All right, so we have 2 tents here. One of them has an older plant of mine that I've had for many years. I think I got this one back in 2013 from Olom Poly Orchids. And then, as I mentioned last week, I divided this one and kept a very small back division for myself. And I'm glad I did because it really is one of my favorite blooms. And so this, of course, is Cattleya amethystoglossa. And it is an especially nice one. I absolutely love the colors on this. I love the distinct spots, the small spots, and the just the really bright white petals and sepals. And then, of course, you can see that the lip here, it feels like hard plastic. Lots of bumps. And and that yellow, sort of glowing yellow back there in the throat. And then, of course, it's presented on this nice tall bulb with a really nice sort of head of flowers at the top. And then, of course, as this particular plant gains size and more bulbs, it'll put out more flowers on each inflorescences. Excuse me, on each inflorescence. And then, of course, each inflorescence will have more blooms. Let me zoom in here to show you some of the detail on the lip. Like I said, lots of really cool bumps. And then, of course, the spots. Gotta love the spots. And of course, there's a nice pink flush, even on the white petals and sepals. And actually, as these flowers age, they'll slowly turn a little bit more and more yellow. You can see a little bit of the yellow around the dorsal sepal there and some of the petals. Just such a great species, a great individual of this species, and really cool flowers. This one is the diploid that I showed in older videos of mine at my previous house, and I compared it to a polyploid plant, and the blooms of the polyploid plant look like they could eat these diploid, but the color on this one is much better than that polyploid that I had, and I actually gave that to my friend Chris for helping to keep my orchids alive while I was moving around for a couple of years. Anyway, this is one of my favorites, and I have one more that is just blooming for the first time right now. Let's go take a look at that one. And here's the first bloom that's really cool. This is a Flammea, and this is the first Flammea that I've ever seen. Let's see if I can move this. And you can see that there's these sort of flame colors on the petals and sepals, which is pretty cool. I haven't seen that. But what really gets me is this sort of dark pink around the outside. And then you have the side lobes here that are just pure white. You also notice that the size of the flowers are larger than the one that I just showed you. And this is the first bloom. The segments are larger, the petals and sepals are larger. And this lip is just bright red. So whereas the other one was mostly pink, this one is not. It's a bright red. Only 3 blooms. It's a small plant. Like I said, first bloom. I think that's a 4-inch pot down there. And so it was imported from Floralia, which of course is based in Brazil. I want to say in 21, maybe 22. So this plant's probably close to 5 years old. I've had it for 3 or 4, and I'm pretty pleased with it. Yeah, of course the other blooms look fairly similar, so I don't want to disturb the plant if I don't have to, but a really nice amethystoglossa. And real quick, just for those of you who aren't super familiar with amethystoglossa care, they seem to grow all year round. So while they might get a dormant period in wintertime in Brazil, it's not significant. And you can see that the bulbs are pretty skinny, so they're not super adapted to harsh winter rests. They like bright light. Like I said, if you water them all year round, they'll grow all year round. They're really regular bloomers for me, so they're always going to bloom in this sort of late winter, early spring time period. So one of the first bloomers of the year, even before my nobiliores. And that's kind of how I know that spring is almost here, because the amethystoglossas will be blooming. Fertilizer the same as Cattleyas. It basically gets mostly Cattleya conditions. I would say the only difference is be very careful when you're repotting, like with most bifoliates. You want to be sure to only repot when the new little root nubbins are coming out on the new growth. It's a very short window. Repotting outside that window can be disastrous. Anyway, those are the plants that I wanted to show you. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later.